Happy Wine Wednesday, everyone. I hope you have had a fabulous holiday season, whatever holiday you celebrate. And New Year is going really fabulously already. Mine obviously is not. I tried to log in and had some audio and visual um, difficulties, but we're here now. That's what counts, right? And we're here for you. It is Wine Wednesday, so I do have to show off one of my Christmas presents from my brother Luke, who actually is a fan of Wine Wednesday. He's not into seahorses, but he just supports the channel. But he noticed that I didn't have a wine glass. I keep breaking them. So he got me this. I don't know if you guys can see it well, but it's like a really nice wine sampling type deal. And he was like, "Happy Wine Wednesday, right?" So I'm gonna put my wine in these as we talk. But they're cute.
Sweet.
I look all
Little,
fancy, even though
yeah,
I'm
little
not.
giraffes.
Yep. And there's a cute little board that I'll set beside the computer so that I don't break any more wine glasses, right? So I'm putting this down. Whoops. I was going to say also, with the difficulties that I did experience, if I start going sideways, guys, let me know. The back to my video, my camera, kind of can't find it. Anyways, on to the points. I'm going to pour my wine as I ask Holly and Ray, how are you doing? How's your new year going so far? Tell me about seahorses. Hey, Terry, I see you. Um, what's going on with you, Holly? How are you in person, in general, and how are your chickens?
Well, I've been crazy busy with stuff not having to do with seahorses, but I
Sure.
I did do my water change today, and since it's the new year, I gave them some new things because I took out Christmas. Other than I left the winter theme, not Christmas theme stuff, but winter. So they each have the giant snowflake,
Gotcha.
and then
The
there's
snow
a
globe, right?
there's a snow globe in my display tank. And then so for New Year's, I took out like the Christmas things and I added there's some like Asian style decor that I found at Petco. There was like a little dragon for
Okay.
Andy that I gave him that to sit on and a little pagoda. So I added those to the display tank. And then the tiki tank, partly because I was so busy, they didn't get their water change today because I noticed I was running out of salt. And I want to
Okay.
make sure I have enough for doing their daily water changes, yeah, with siphoning and stuff. So I'm saving their water change for tomorrow when I go pick up salt. But they got their new decoration anyway, and
Mm-hmm.
I have a video of it. It's
Okay.
it's so sweet. I found them another door,
All
and
right.
and it's like my friend Sam, who joins us on the show sometimes, she says, "Oh, it's a hobbit door." It is. It's a little fairy tale door or something, but it had the same effect as the saloon doors. There's something about doors that they love.
They like to go through them and think they're going.
So yeah, so when you're ready, I can share that. It's pretty
Yeah.
cute.
Why don't you go find it now?
All
While
right. Well, I
I
have it queued up, so
Okay.
I'll
All
put
right. Well,
us
then
on.
wait, hang on. Give me 10 seconds because I
Okay.
need your help. Anybody in the audience, Ray, you guys are fancy schmancy. I'm not. So this is the board. It has this
Yes.
piece that I don't know the material. I don't even know how to describe it. Almost like
Like slate.
yes, that's
Mhm.
probably it. And then if you look at the picture, I know you guys can't see it well, but if you look at the picture, there's
Uh-huh.
like as Merlot, Chardonnay, whatever. So
Yeah.
then I found this. white thing. It's not chalk. It's like wax, maybe.
like a
Am I?
pastel type crayon.
It's probably it'll probably write on the slate.
That's what I was
Yeah.
thinking. Gonna ask you guys. So I write Happy
Yep.
Wednesday and then what it
It's
is.
the name of, yeah. So you make a flight, like you would put like a different type of wine in each carafe, and then you write the name of each one in front of it so that people can sample it.
Got it.
Well, for her, she can just write down. This is for the first 15 minutes. This is for the second
Right?
15 minutes.
Good one, Ray.
Can I erase what I wrote though?
Yeah, you should be able to wash it off.
All right. Well, here's what we got, guys. I'll show you it put together completely, but we've got Happy Wine Wednesday, Chardonnay Pinot Noir. All right. Holly, please feel free to continue. I'm sorry. I had to
All
plug this
right.
mic.
So I got my video ready. So I'll hit
Yes.
share and go
Okay.
to.
Stone, Terry said. Thank you, Terry. Hey, Cora Works. All right.
Yeah. So here we go. So here they are in their little door. So that's Buddy, and then Princess. It's funny because I had just fed them and I turned the quick filter on, so the food was going by headed towards the quick filter, and she saw a piece. You saw her kind of lunge for it, but she couldn't get there because Buddy's in the way.
Right, right.
But they love that door. Yeah, so they'll gather around it. Usually there'll be two at a time, and I had one go in one direction and one going the other way earlier.
They just like
So
chill. I get it.
yeah,
I get it. I get it. I think it's cool. Um, and I still have to get my snow globe. I haven't done it, but just to give you guys the finished copy without breaking everything, that's what it would look like with the two other glasses. But I've got the Pinot Noir and the Chardonnay. It does
neat.
say what they are. So thanks, Luke, if you're watching. And I will say though, I probably poured wrong. It's called a de Laverne pour. My sister and I are always like, why do they only fill the glasses like this much? Yeah. Anyhow, so I'm gonna set that to the side so that I don't break it. But I'll be sipping on Chardonnay and Pinot Noir. Let me know what you're sipping on. Let me know about all the cool presents you got, especially fishy presents. And let me know what decorations you've done, as Holly just showed, because I think all that stuff's really cool. I've been dropping the ball on doing that in the tanks, but I think it's cool when people do. If you have a natural tank and you added new coral that you got for Christmas, or that you bought yourself for the new year, I want to see it. If you have new macros, if you have new decorations, Holly's example was great because I love seeing new stuff. It's very cool. I do see Fish Fam Links is here up. Don't forget Fish Fam Links. I see Chris Carey. I see Fashion Girl 173. What's up, y'all? Tell me how your New Year is going, how your holidays went. I just showed off one of my favorite presents, but anyhow, back to Holly. Yeah, no, it seems like they really do enjoy the little where
The
they can go
doors. Yeah, when
and
they
the
can
new
go
stuff.
through. Mm-hmm.
And the new stuff. And
And I
again,
got, I'll look while you're talking. I'll look, I got some more pictures, so I'll look for them while you're talking about that.
awesome. And I will say though, guys, again, this is all relative. Relative's not the right word. This is all dependent on your seahorses in your tank. Some seahorses don't like change. They, just like people, right? Some seahorses would prefer you never touch anything, never clean their decorations, don't take my stuff. I've had my male bachelor pad that had 3 male erectus in it that couldn't get along with other seahorses. They hated change. They hated me. I mean, it was whatever, but I'm not going to answer that. Anyhow, it depends on your tank. So if you have seahorses that don't like that stuff, don't do it, right? But if you notice that when you put in decorations like Holly does, or you move things around like I do, or whatever, if they seem to like it and they all gather around that. When I added the Robert King Chamber, whom will be coming as a guest to the show again soon, to tell us the new updates to the product and everything he's doing. But when I added that chamber, I've told you guys that are regulars, my seahorses sleep on that thing. They fight over it. They love it. I don't know if it's just because it's new. We've had this discussion before. Is it because it's letting out cleaner water and my tank's so god awful that they want to be around the cleaner water? I hope not. I think it's just that they like the bubbles up their butt and they like the new thing and they want it to be theirs, right? Ray, you think we're crazy, don't you?
Don't put words in my mouth.
Well, but you
Sadie
do.
still likes her char chamber. She'll still go to it. Like she'll hang out with the new snow globe and new things. With I have a picture to show you while I'm talking about it.
Oh,
But
okay. I want
so
to go
I'm
back to Ray,
I'm
but go
going to
ahead.
share. So yeah, so there she is in her new snowflake. And Dandy likes
Oh,
to sit in it. Like Dandy found out he can get up there, and the snowflake part inside is pretty wide, so he can sit on there comfortably. So he was sitting up there on that the other day, and he looks so cute. But she looks adorable in it. But yeah, they love the new things, but they still love. Sadie loves her char chamber.
yep.
She
So
really
they
does.
they have they have favorites. They have things they like. So Ray, I know you didn't baby your seahorses the way Holly and I do. You put your tank up the way you wanted your tank, and you did it for more sanitary, like keeping it clean reasons. You use the best stuff.
and
Kept it minimal.
and making it so that I could see the seahorses without them hiding on
Right.
behind
So
everything.
minimal tank. And did you ever switch things up and notice, them react in any way, or did you just always keep it the same?
Did I always what?
Did you always keep the tank the same, or did you ever like move things around or add things or anything like that?
Oh yeah, because I had different sets of the decor, the hitching and that. So I'd take them out and uh, peroxide them or bleach them,
Sure.
whatever, and then I'd have another set to go back in, and now I may go back into a different tank, but most times I tried to put it back in the same tank. So same seahorses had the same sets of decor. Uh, so
Well, I remember sharing.
they'd go through each tank would just basically go through two chain or two different sets for changing. Like, but there were times where I got lazy or had to do something else, especially back when I was still had my business. Then there were times I didn't get something sterilized and cleaned, and so I grabbed. I had to do something with the tank. So I grabbed the spares from one of the other tanks and used them then.
But I mean, you are like
But
Cheryl in that she has made the point to everyone, which is a good point. You should have backup for everything. But she's usually talking about pumps,
Mm.
skimmer, the equipment that actually runs the tank. But when we're talking about the decorations and the hitches, she would also make sure she had backup for those. But they were always
yeah,
the same. Is that kind
it
of
makes it
how you did it
easier.
too? Though, was it always the same stuff that you put back in? Meaning, did you
Well,
have a yellow tree and a yellow tree, and you just swapped them out?
well, I had a lot of yellow because I liked the yellow.
Right, right, right.
Then uh, trying to think what other colors I had. Reds, orange. Like I painted a lot of them myself. I used the
Oh,
plastic coat paint that stays
yeah,
on.
that's so cool.
Plastic coat's hard to get anymore here in Canada. I don't know what the availability is down there. And the other ones that are advertised for plastic or for similar to plastic, they don't hold on. But plastic, it'll stay on
Hmm.
the inside of the glass tank. It'll stay on the decor. Have very little problem with it.
I'll have
Well,
to
and
keep
I
that in
just,
mind.
yeah, I know. I think it's really cool that you were painting your own decorations. That's something that
Yeah.
I'd love to like do.
Well, you can shade them like maybe I'd paint the whole thing yellow, and then I'll take orange
Do dots.
and do ends of it, spray ends of it, or might be
Very
the whole thing
cool.
with orange, and I'll spray
Sweet.
yellow
Look at that,
on
guys.
the ends.
Ray is a hidden artist. Who would have known? Who would have known?
Yeah,
But I
wish
think
he'd
that's
paint
really
some of
cool.
my stuff. I'm gonna need some stuff painted at some point because I
Exactly.
have some stuff that fades over time, like the caves. Gobi's
Sure.
cave is fading.
So I'm curious though, Holly, when because again, that's
Mhm.
kind of the point. To each their own. If you just are more concerned with like if my seahorses start popping out babies, I probably won't be concerned with ornaments at all. I'll be concerned with the baby, right? So, but it just depends on what you're trying to do
And
and
I
what you
have, yeah, and I have a
hang on,
video
and
queued
what
up
you
of one that didn't work out.
okay, I'm gonna let you show that in 10 seconds, but I just wanted to say, so whatever you're doing, if it's working, don't
Mhm,
worry about it. But I am curious, Holly, before you show us the video,
mhm,
when you add different decorations, because one of the
mhm,
things that people in the seahorse world recommend is adding, bright yellow decorations to help them
mhm.
keep color. So when you add decorations, do you notice color change or no?
Not so much anymore. I've noted the lighting has more to do with their
Mm,
their their coloring is what I'm noticing. But most stuff, I like bright stuff. So most stuff in their tank's pretty bright. And they
well, I
will
just
sometimes change to match or be close to the color of where they're sitting. Like they have a range of white or yellow, basically.
mhm.
So when they're hanging out next to stuff that's really bright white, sometimes they'll lighten up to be a really pale gray or white color. My seahorse princess used to be really good with that. She could turn white with like pink and red highlights. She was really pretty. But usually they're either a yellow or like tan color or
Mhm.
white sometimes if they're hanging out near white stuff.
Well,
But
and that's interesting because again, I think I don't want to dive too deep into
mhm,
the discussion of coloration and what affects it. But you said lighting. I tend to
mhm,
agree with you, and I
mhm,
also think that it has to do with feeds because my ocean rider seahorses,
mhm.
I had heard it from other people, but I wanted to try myself. And when I got my ocean rider seahorses, they came with the red shrimp that
Yeah,
they were eating, and
yeah,
they stayed colorful for a minute and then not so much. They're
not
still
after they
gorgeous.
got that. Mhm,
Right. They're still gorgeous. They still have their beauty in different ways, but they
mhm.
didn't stay those bright,
That bright.
vibrant colors. I
Yeah.
think that if you want your seahorses to stay bright, vibrant colors,
Mhm,
it the way to really attack it is in the feed. Enrichment,
mhm,
live feeds, red shrimp, things like that. But
mhm.
that's besides the point because all of our seahorses are beautiful. They don't have to be bright
Yeah,
orange and ridiculous colors,
yeah.
right? Ray left us.
He had
He's
to go
heading
to his
to.
hockey game, probably.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought he wasn't leaving until 9. I was hoping for more input from him,
But
but that's
like
okay.
Scott's favorite is Dandy, who's not colorful, but his patterns are amazing. Like
Right,
the little pattern lines and things on,
right.
whereas most of my other seahorses, the females, they'll tend to be like really colorful, but they don't have the
The
lines all
dots
over
and
them like the
stripes and
males have the
paddles, right?
stripes, and
Yeah.
Buddy's got stripes and stuff too. Dandy never turns yellow. He never has been yellow. He'll turn like a really pale brown or sometimes like a reddish brown, but
Hmm.
he never gets yellow like my other
Gotcha.
seahorses do. So anyway, the video I queued up is of Dandy, and this was last year. This was like a memory
Okay.
from from this day last year. And I got him for Christmas a little lounge chair.
Uh-huh.
And it's funny because when I was going through decorations, after Christmas this year, I went through my totes because I was changing up the tanks, and I found that chair. And I remembered Dandy tried so hard to use it, but he had a hard time with it. So I gave it to the other tank to see what
Sure.
they did with it. They
I
haven't
get it.
checked it out yet, but I have a video. If you're ready, I can
Yeah.
show you Dandy.
All right. Here
So
we go.
this is it's like he knows he's supposed to sit there. He's trying to get in it and climb up in the chair. But remember, Dandy's handicapped. So he has a hard time getting around. But he figured out that chair might be a nice place to sit, but then he had trouble making it work.
I'm gonna let
And
that let don't stop that, Holly. I want to let that
okay.
play again because that's really kind of cool. This
And so
handicap horse
I'll replay
figured
it.
out how to. Oh, I should probably put my butt in that. I mean, that's
Yeah.
so cute.
And he did sit in it. He used to sit there sometimes like a chair, but he always had such a hard time, and it's kind of big and bulky, so he had trouble, maneuvering around it, to get you
Right.
could see that's his dish right there. So I always like to give him something in that corner for him to hang on to or, sit on. And so I gave him that chair, and you can tell it's so funny that he figured out it's a chair.
Well, and he knew it was for him, and
Yeah.
he was like, and I mean, it's adorable and cute when they just hitch on it at the side, but he really was like,
He's like, I want to sit
look,
here. Yeah.
I want to sit here. This is my crown or
My
my
chair.
throne.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And he did figure it out. He used to sit in it sometimes, but a lot of times it was just in his way because he has such a hard time
sure. I
maneuvering.
gotta say, I've never seen a seahorse sit in a chair, so you just nailed that one. Chris Carey is here with us. Hello, Chris
Yay.
Carey. How are you doing?
Going good, guys. How about yourself?
Good. Hey, just
Good.
jumping back for like 10 seconds. Well, actually, I should say, how are you doing first? How are you doing? How
I'm
is
doing
your new
excellent.
year?
New Year was good, just nice and quiet, but yeah, no trouble, no drama.
That's always good. And apparently Ray's back too. So, Chris, I thought you had to go to your game, Ray. Sorry. But Chris, I wanted to know because you messed with a lot of actual projects, like scientific projects, at when you were working for Seahorse World about, coloration and getting seahorses to color up and that kind of thing. And I've just personally noticed that yes, our original statements that a blue background and yellow decorations will absolutely get them to brighten up. But I've also noticed that number one, if you have rock in the tank, and they spend a lot of time in the rock, they're gonna gray up. In my personal experience, and number two, especially with, for instance, the ocean rider seahorses, they were eating a specific diet that was enriched in red shrimp that I can't get here unless I want to pay big bucks to order it from them. And so, of course, they didn't stay that bright colors. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, so yeah, diet definitely plays a large role in the colours and that they put out. Um, Genetics can play a role as well, but one of the fun and exciting things, I guess, about seahorses is that you can influence their colours with their decor and decoration. So, like if you find that your seahorses are greying up because you have a lot of grey or sort of beige or white coloured live rock, something that you can do to help sort of, I guess, them color up is to add some more colorful decorations, or you could even you can get like live rock or artificial rock that is like various colors. Like you can get really bright purple stuff, and I guess if you put some more colorful stuff in your tank, you could help sort of encourage them to go brighter shades of colors.
Sure. Agree. But I mean, in general, you just agree that foods matter, lighting matters, decorations matter. But you did actual experiments and you had success, right? Like you were actually taking um, brood stock and trying to make yellow seahorses. Were you not? Am I way off here?
Yeah,
Okay, tell me about
yeah,
that.
no, you're right. So basically, you can definitely influence it through selective breeding. I can't like the
Right.
like it's been a little while since I was doing that at Seahorse World, but basically, if you selectively pick out seahorses with the best traits that you want to sort of be passed down and whatnot, and you focus that down for enough generations, and the genetics that there are strong enough, you can actually influence that, and you don't necessarily take away their ability to change color. But you might actually sort of influence like their default state.
Their dominant
So even
traits, what they
even without influence, so even if you were to put, say, some yellow seahorses into a tank without any yellow decorations, I was able to get yellow seahorses, and really, really strongly pronounced yellow seahorses. Like I was getting yellow seahorses coming through as fry. As soon as they were able to change color, they were bright yellow. And the way that I knew that I was onto something was I was going around a nursery with a whole bunch of different tanks, and you would go from tank to tank to tank to tank. There was like 16 different tanks all the way around, and you go around, you've got a whole bunch of newborn fry, slightly older, slightly older, slightly older as you're going around, and then as soon as these ones hit that stage where they were able to change colours, just boom, they were all bright yellow, and there was no decorations or nothing to prompt that. It was just pure genetics.
So I literally said I'm not going to dive into coloration, and then I dove into coloration. Sorry, guys. It's one of the things I really
It happens.
and like. But I would say if you want, Chris actually came on Wine Wednesday. It was multiple, episodes ago. I'll try to find the link when we're done and post it. But he actually showed us what he's talking about. He showed us the difference in coloration. I'll try to find that episode. And um, you don't think I'm supposed to drink out of them?
No, they're a
Oh no.
carafe. You pour it into a little glass
I won't judge. One
for
for me, one for you. It's
samples,
just
but that's all right. I'm with you on that, Kelly.
I am making this a new fad. We now drink out of little carafes. And I don't really like it
yep.
because it hits my nose, right? Right? But maybe next week I'll have a wine glass to pour these into because I wanted to have them on Wine Wednesday. But Ray, I'm not mad. Call me out. Yes, please. And yeah, hey,
Well, at least you're not the only one with computer problems now.
right? Were you having some?
Never had that happen before, but all of a sudden my screen went to a powder blue
Mm.
and a little thing come up on the left side saying my device has experienced some difficulty or something. It says something about repairing, and it goes through. It's from 20%, 30, 40, so on. It gets up to 100, and then it shuts off and reboots. And then once it starts, and it goes into this repair thing. So it's repairing something.
Mm.
And then once it finally repairs, starts me up again. But then when it restarted Restream, but nothing would happen. I just saw the 4 squares there and nobody in them. So I had to shut off the browser and restart the browser and then restart Restream. So you're not the only one with computer problems now.
I don't want any of us to have computer problems, but I'm glad you're back for the last few minutes before your game, your hockey game. But yeah, we saw you, but we could, you weren't like here. So I don't know. And I have no answers. Can't figure out my own computer problems. But yeah. Anyhow, glad you're back for a moment for sure. And do you have any thoughts on that, Ray? Like the coloration before I move forward?
Well, I didn't hear much of the talk on
Yeah.
there, but I just tried to influence them with the colors of that I sprayed on the hitching and that. And
See, I love that.
um, oh, I'm trying to. There was there was a company that Dan knows about, and they were supplying re-dye to the North American market, and
Mm-hmm.
they were painting all their tanks sky blue.
Yep.
Um, and they found that helped to enhance the colors. So then the other influence is to get colors that can induce a change in the seahorse to get what you want. And it
Mm-hmm.
doesn't necessarily mean um, spray everything orange so that you can get orange seahorses.
Right.
It might take yellow to get them to go orange, or it
Absolutely.
might take orange to get them to go yellow. And
You just got to play
whatever
with
would
it.
work for one species didn't always work for another. Like
Yep.
what I found for green eye didn't work the same with the erectus.
Yep. I remember Dan saying and I mean, like, when you say somebody tried something, if it was Dan and it didn't work, I'm like, I'm never even going to try it because there's no, he had so much knowledge and experience and, the scientific backing and his wife and da da da. Or someone like Chris. Like, if you guys tell me I tried this, it didn't work, I'm done with it. But he mentioned to me once that with Erectus, red decorations, because let me back up one more second. Dan had developed ways to make piebalds, right? Seahorses that have the missing pigment. And that's through genetics and breeding and stuff that us hobbyists don't really, we'll never grasp. But he figured all that out. He also figured out how to, breed for a certain color, like Chris was talking about. But when he tried to breed red seahorses, because that's what everyone wants is red seahorses. And the only person I've ever known with an actual true red seahorse that didn't change color within a month was Sam Banfield, excuse me, who runs the Australian group on Facebook. And she had a sublinguatus that was red. I think she called him Big Red. And he was amazing and beautiful. He is actually in the corner. He's right by Ray. That is Sam's
Ah, yeah.
actual seahorse that was red and stayed red forever. But that was him, right?
Mhm.
So when Dan tried to breed red seahorses, he tried using red decorations. And he said the red decorations, something about the way they see color, they would go black instantly. Something about
Wow.
red, they see black and they go black. So
I
I don't know.
use
Just
red, but not a lot of red, but I have some really bright red decorations, and mine never do that. They don't turn red, but they don't turn black either. They stay that yellow.
well, but your tank is so full. I think what Ray said is he's onto something. Like it.
He
Well,
did all red
I'm talking. I'm
decorations,
talking.
probably.
Well, I'm talking about five different things here at the same time. People at work call me squirrel because I'm literally thinking about five different things at once. Sorry, guys, but it depends if you're talking about breeding coloration into a seahorse, which is what Chris was working with and successful with, versus you've got seahorses and you're trying to keep their color up or make them color up. So
Mhm.
just talking about making them color up, I really think Ray's onto something when he said, the one seahorse might really be attracted to and hitch to an orange decoration that makes them turn yellow. Right. I think
Mhm.
it's more about the brightness. What do you
Mhm.
I
guys think?
found Angustus and Combs. I couldn't get them to change color at all.
Yeah. Hmm. Well, but I mean, do you agree with what I said about the seahorses that can change more easily? They're
Mhm.
going to change more likely with brighter colors, whatever that color might be. Like,
Yeah, and
don't
I
go with
have
a deep red.
individuals that are more likely to change than others.
Sure,
Yeah, like
sure.
I have two females in my tiki tank that I raised, Princess and Sunny. And I named Sunny Sunny because she had a tendency to be a really bright yellow color. And Princess had like a white coral with pink tips that she liked to hang out with. And she turned really super white with pink highlights
Right.
on her
Um,
face, which
yep.
was really cool. But, I still have her, and she doesn't like to be white anymore. Now she still is bright, but she'll be a bright yellow.
Yep. I
Yeah,
was
yeah,
gonna
yeah.
say, Mac was said, so no pink. I hope you're being serious, because actually, as Holly just said, she had a
Green
seahorse
pink.
pink,
Mhm.
and I had a Barbori seahorse that for some reason, when I got them, they were so unique, and I was so happy with them and posted so many pictures because they were almost see-through. I don't know how else to describe it. Like, they obviously were not see-through, but their coloration made them seem like they were iridescent. I don't know. But the
Mhm.
female, I had nothing pink in the tank. Nothing. She
Mhm.
was just, when you would look at her, I don't know if, again, guys, we're not scientists
Mhm.
here. And
Mhm.
again, I do want to say, squirrel moment, left field. This is open chat. If you have a question about seahorses, we're here to answer it. If we don't have questions or a guest, we're just going to talk. But if you have a question, please ask it. But back to my point, this seahorse, whether it was the lighting, whether it was the reflections, I don't know. This seahorse looked pink. She just always looked pink, like this
Mhm.
iridescent pink color. And I did also have a male who was absolutely purple. Like, if you're in the house and you're looking at him, you're like, that's a deep black colored male, huge 12-inch seahorse. But then he'll turn and he looked purple. Again, could have been lighting,
Mhm.
but look at some of my old pictures. He was freaking purple. So I don't
I
know.
had one. My very first seahorse was purple, like a super dark, like you said, almost black, but
Yep.
purplish, like a magenta color.
Chris, you look like you have something to say about all this.
I was going to say, Briley McKenzie, she had a whole bunch of Barbary or Barbari, and hers over the course of her seahorse keeping had them a whole bunch of different colours, the same seahorses, but I think she had them more than a dozen different colours just through changing stuff in her tank and just over the few years that she had them.
Mhm.
She had she was really good at taking photos of her tank, and her tank was beautiful and very sort of photogenic for taking pics of her seahorse and stuff. But I can recall her doing a post on social media somewhere in the past, and it was just like a massive collage of all the different pics, and they were the same seahorses, or maybe even the same seahorse that she was taking photos of each time, but they were like a whole bunch of different colors. So she had pics of it, really, really white. She had pics of it red, black, yellow. Like it was just, and it was the same seahorses, just a whole bunch of different colors through her, changing stuff up in her tank.
Yep, absolutely. And that's what I love, is that those experiences, sharing them, because then we can all figure out how to use that information for our own tanks, right? And Zen Ginger said, I'm going to have to re-ask all of my questions in the next couple of months as I start to order things and set the tank up. I've asked so many questions, but now can't remember. Listen, that's what I hate the most too, is when someone asks something and I'm like, I
Do
know this
this.
answer. Right.
I started
Holly's got
keeping
it.
a book when I started coming to Wine Wednesday. So I wrote down all the stuff in my book. Whenever we're here, I have this so I can write down. Tonight, I wrote down the two kinds of paint that are good to use in the aquarium.
Right.
That's
No,
awesome.
literally,
Holly's
Holly
taking
is
notes.
awesome at this.
No,
She's the one.
they're
Like,
not organized though, because they're in order of the show. So whenever I'm
But that's
looking for
fine. You can go back through and you can read and you can reflect.
Right. And that's the thing is hopefully at some point I'll get the website done and it'll have all this information in a searchable order instead of me just saying, Holly, what did we say on this
Yeah,
day?
where's
Or
that?
whatever.
Yeah.
We're still working on it, and that is the goal because that's what we want to provide for everyone. But again, even if you're asking a repeat question, that's what we're here for, right? So I can't wait to walk through your setup with you, Zen. It's going to be amazing and fun. Can't wait. Ray had to go off to hockey. I do have to work in the morning, guys, so we're not going to go much longer. So I did want to ask Chris, anything new with you? Did you just pop in to hang out or anything you wanted to tell us?
I popped in to say good day, but it's probably the last time for a good while that I'm going to be on
Oh
because I'm starting a
no.
new job.
Ah,
So yeah, I'm going to be pretty tied up every Thursday here in Australia or every Wednesday for you guys, unless I'm sick or otherwise taking time off. But no, it's going to be good starting a new job, and there's going to be a few big changes this year. So moving house pretty soon, and hopefully setting up some tanks soon, and it's going to be an exciting year for fish keeping and whatnot.
Sweet.
awesome.
I'm
So,
excited.
I will ask you on the side and everything, but I mean, or is this a profession within the industry or not?
No,
Okay.
just sort of taking a bit of a back seat, but
But you're still
yeah, I
setting up
found
tanks and doing your own thing,
yeah,
the shrimp.
yeah,
Okay, cool. Cool. Well,
yeah.
good. I'm glad you're doing well either way. I hate to hear that
Mm,
you can't pop in, but I get it. Just keep in touch, keep us updated.
that's all right.
Um,
If the timing works out well enough, I might even hassle you guys on my lunch break.
see, we're all down with you coming on your lunch break. Sounds
Yeah.
great. Just an update for me, because Chris, you might have some input on this. I don't know if I know you do watch every week, but I know I announced a week or two ago that I lost a seahorse randomly in the all-in-one where it's overstocked for sure. 5 seahorses in a 40-gallon all-in-one. Don't ever do that, people, because eventually, as you see in my case, you're going to run into trouble, and sometimes you don't even know why, right? So this male seahorse, I didn't even realize it. I had mentioned on Wine Wednesday that he was being a finicky eater. Holly reminded me the next week when I lost him. She was like, "Remember, you said he was being a finicky eater," and I didn't even recall it because I just had a night where they were all being finicky. I did a big water change and everybody went back to normal as far as I noticed. Within that week, this male, the day before I lost him, I did notice he was acting kind of funny, like off to the side, not being the usual. He was usually a very run the tank kind of male. And so now he's off to the side, not really doing that. And I just noticed it that night. And I was like, I got to pay attention to you. Maybe I need to treat you, whatever. I noticed the very tip of his tail was white. I didn't know what that meant. I mean, nothing's been introduced, nothing has changed. Could the water quality have degraded over the holidays where I'm busy? Absolutely. But it was just weird, and I didn't do anything. And then next day I found him on the bottom of the tank, and his mouth was wide open. And we did discuss that a week or two ago, that doesn't necessarily mean anything. It could be that he was literally just taking a breath and then passed. It could be this, that, and the other. It doesn't necessarily mean there was an oxygen issue. Um, and just again, so others don't freak out, and just to show others that this happens to all of us, even people that have been doing this for a really long time. So I was still devastated and upset, and I brought it up here. And I will tell you, Chris, the interesting thing, and I do want your input and your thoughts on anything about that, but I did a big water change. I'm jumping around, I know, I'm sorry. I did a big water change. I'm watching because, I want to make sure the rest are okay. They all got, they all acted like they were having a damn party. And I'm not kidding you. They were all like, all of a sudden, active as shit. Like, and I don't think it was the water change. It could be, but I mean, they were all of a sudden, the other male that was in the tank, that is in the tank from Vincent, he's all of a sudden Mr. Macho, puffing up his chest and showing off his pouch and dancing with all the girls. He was usually shy. And now he's all macho man and running the tank and acting crazy. And the girls are all more out and about. And they're acting like I'm kind of wondering, was there something wrong with this seahorse? And it was just something that wasn't like anybody could know, but that they knew. Does that make sense? Is that even possible? Am I crazy? Does that make sense?
Well, like going back to the original Seahorse, like it could have been
Okay,
anything. Like
sorry.
could have been like a stress issue. He could have had some sort of health problem going inside without it's kind of morbid, but without doing like a biopsy, without slicing and
Right.
dicing him and checking all of his organs and looking at him under a microscope, you kind of not really going to get to know what exactly went wrong with him. And you can actually learn how to do that if that's something that you're interested in. But I would say maybe he stressed out or something was going on anyways, and that's caused his whole immune system to go down, and then maybe that's why he had a something going on with his tail. Maybe he had a bacterial infection happening due to stress and a compromised immune system, and then I wouldn't worry too much about the mouth being open when he died, because it's either open or not open when they do go. But I would say,
It just,
like, you doing a water change to hopefully correct whatever might have been going wrong probably definitely helped. And I would say the absence of that male disappearing or like dying, passing on, and it's caused a bit of a social power vacuum within your seahorse community, and the other males have seen this as their opportunity to claim breeding rights for the females, and
sure,
get in amongst it.
sure. Well, and but the thing that, like Zen Ginger just said, I mean, anytime there's a pack of animals, I think the other pack members all sort of know when something's up. So what I'm asking, and I know this is all hypothetical here, I'm not going to hold you to it, but I just sincerely, like, I was afraid, oh my gosh, the seahorse all of a sudden passed on me. Am I going to see the rest of them start to get sick? And they haven't at all. In fact, they're acting more healthy than ever, like beaming, coloring up, like it's crazy. And so I'm just kind of like in the back of my head, can't prove it, won't know, like you said, without, doing some really scientific stuff. But could it have been because they were all of them were just not the tank that I'm used to, where the seahorses act like they are now, all active and up front and dancing constantly. They were all kind of like shy and holding back, and I just wonder if maybe they knew something was wrong with them. Do you know what I mean?
Well,
I mean, that's
I,
crazy to
I,
think,
I would
but
say like based on what you've told me, I would say something else is actually happening. I would say
okay.
it's a little bit coincidental with the timing and whatnot, but that male's passed on, and it's caused a bit of a power vacuum within the social hierarchy of your seahorses. But basically, that's coincided with a female letting out hormones into the water, letting the boys know that she's ready.
Ah,
Something with working at Seahorse World, I was working with a range of tanks at any given time, and even with, say, just working on one species with the potbellies, we had a range of different broodstock tanks. We had 10 different broodstock tanks, and you could go around and check on each seahorse community within each of these different tanks, and all of them had like many breeders in them, but the social dynamics going on in each tank would vary from day to day. So, in like I used to sort of number them in our farm. So, say in tank 3, they might have been having a party in tank 3 that day. But then, go a day or two later, and that tank would be pretty quiet. But tank 5 might have been going off. Or, tank 2 might have been really, really quiet for a little while, and then all of a sudden some females are putting the signals out there, and then next minute, there's a party and it's a hive of activity. All the males start puffing out their pouches, and they're all showing off, and it it can really drive things to really blow up. So I would say it's probably more on what's going on with your seahorses, and all it takes is a female to put the signals out there and let the other seahorses know that she's getting ready to lay eggs, and then all of a sudden, they can go from being dormant, pretty quiet, pretty inactive, aside from food and whatnot, to all of a sudden, it's on, party time, let's go.
So, okay, last question on this, because I didn't even know they released hormones into the water. That's something I had no idea. That's really
Whether
cool.
it's hormones or pheromones, or they do something.
Right.
They let out some
It's
sort of a
just like,
chemical trigger to let the
Yeah,
the
I've
males
noticed
know.
that. Mine
Well,
are doing it right now.
humans have the same stuff, guys. I won't tell you any stories, but for certain, my significant other comes a knocking, and I'm like, it ain't that time. And it's like there's some scent, and he's like, you smell good. No, go away. Anyways, I bet seahorses absolutely do the same thing, and that's really interesting to me. So, could a female not could a female decide, you know what, I don't like this dude. I'm not going to release my hormones. I'm not going to be available to them if she didn't like that big main male that was kind of a jerk? I mean, can they do that? Do you know? You maybe don't know.
I mean, it's possible. It's not really a well-studied point. Yeah. I've had various seahorse tanks, or various individuals in seahorse tanks, both actually, where breeding's just stopped. Like, even with a small community of both males and females, breeding's just stopped for a little while, and it's hard to know what's really behind that. It's hard to know whether it's a nutrition issue. It's hard to know whether it's an external environment issue. Maybe the water temp's a little bit too low or too high for them. Maybe there's some other things going on within the social confines of that tank. Whereas, like it can be one of those things where a whole tank of seahorses are just kind of going gangbusters. It's just breeding after breeding after breeding, and you're just getting babies constantly in that tank. We used to keep like track numbers of fry that were born from each tanks, and track that over the course of years. And different tanks would go through different phases, and if we had a tank that was like not producing, or producing in very low numbers, you might have some tanks that are producing literally thousands or tens of thousands each month,
right?
Whereas others might only be producing a few hundred at best.
Yep.
And then you start questioning, okay, what's going on here? What's up with this? Why is tank 2 doing so much worse than tank 5?
Yep.
What's sort of triggering this? And it's one of those things, like you start questioning yourself whether you're doing something wrong, or whether it's just the seahorses or whatever. What I used to do is, if it was like from month to month, you're going to get some variation. So I've sort of accepted that. But if I was getting, constant sort of, we'll say, discrepancies between one tank not performing and the others kind of all being pretty average, or one doing really, really well and then, one not doing so well, I would start to look at other things that were going on in the tank. Were some of the breeders too old? Were some of them starting to stop producing? And that was definitely a factor, because some of the seahorses that we were keeping there had been in there for 5-10 years.
Right.
So some of the females might have just kind of dried up and stopped producing eggs. So after a while, if I noticed that one tank was starting to really ramp down in production, I would go, okay, it's time for a bit of a refresh here, and
sure.
We would sort of retire some of the seahorses and take them out of the broodstock tank, and basically bring in some new blood. And then, sure enough, like 1 month later, once give them some time to do some egg transfers and let them sort of ride out the pregnancy or gestation period. And then all of a sudden, boom, this tank's producing. They might not have been producing the same numbers, because usually when you're introducing new brood stock, you're taking younger seahorses that are usually much smaller in size, other than these big ones that have been there for years and years
Sure.
and years. So they weren't producing anywhere near the same numbers, but the frequency of the births was, sort of well and truly bouncing right back to where it should be. If not, probably they might have been, birthing more frequently than the big established breeders, but they just weren't producing the same numbers of fry as such.
I'm so jealous. I would love to work in a facility like that where you could actually look at this stuff and see this stuff. Because when you just have a tank, or even in my case, when I had 10 tanks, it's still, they're not comparable, right? Whereas in your case,
Yeah.
you could actually see this is comparable to this. Why is one doing better than the other in whatever facet, especially if you were doing everything the same. I love when you do join us, Chris, because you bring such great information at the table. And Zen Ginger did say maybe the other seahorses always puffed up and acted different, but the dominant one shut it down. And then once he got sick, there was just nobody to keep them in line, very possibly. And she said, and I think the hormones are released when they're in the mood. And if one of the males is being obnoxious, maybe she wasn't feeling it until he stopped being so annoying. Listen, if I get Fry, we're all going to know that this is the case. At least in my case.
Fault. It was his fault.
At least in my case, right? And I was already talking about doing different things like splitting them off. So maybe if I still split them off and leave only 2 in that tank, the 2 that are dancing the most, let's see what happens. If that doesn't work, maybe I do provide new blood, like Chris said. I'm just playing with it, and I'm still loving and enjoying my seahorses. You guys, anybody who wants seahorses that doesn't want to breed, this is the perfect situation for you, right? I mean, most people say, how can I stop them from breeding? And for some reason, I set out to prove that
Just keep all males or just keep all females?
Yeah, but like Cheryl said, if you get them too young, they can still change. And you want the experience of both. I don't like when people say that, because, and I'm not saying that to you. I get why you're saying it. That is the answer. If you don't want Fry, just keep one sex. But you miss out on experience of them dancing and their interactions. Like in my case, I know people have had different experiences, but in my case, my males are really, really active. My females are not. If there was not a male in the tank, I think they'd sit around plucking all day. I mean, they wouldn't even do anything. That'd be kind of, I don't know.
Something I will say, they do actually release some sort of a chemical cue in the water, because we used to keep a system, and it was all one recirculating system. So the same water was going through all these tanks, right? We had one tank for for grow out. So we had lots of small seahorses this would sort of bridge them from being fry to they were at the later stages of being fry, like baby seahorses, through till they reached sort of sexual maturity sort of size.
Right.
And then in the next 2 tanks, we would have all females and then all males, and we literally had hundreds, if not thousands, at various points in these tanks. But the females would release this chemical cue in their tank, and the males would all go crazy in the next tank. And there were no females for them to harass. They could only socialize with other males, but you would definitely know when something was going on in the water, because all the males were racing around like crazy, puffing out their pouches or acting all macho and kind of like trying to show off for the ladies, but there were no ladies there to show off to. So they were competing with each other, and they were trying to show off who had the biggest pouch and everything. But
yes.
It's funny, there's other times where like in the female tank, for example, you get a lot of courtship behavior between 2 females.
Sure.
I see that.
They can probably sense that there's males in the same water as them, maybe the males release some sort of a chemical cue as well, and the females pick up on that. But it's interesting, even in the absence of the other gender, you still do get a lot of interesting behaviour and social interactions. But I always just say, if you're not interested in keeping fry, or if you're not interested in raising fry ever, just get all of one, because then, if you've got all females, you don't have to worry about
They
any
won't sense it in the
fry.
water. No, I get what you're saying. You're absolutely right. When people ask me, I'm like, oh, but you don't want to see this, that, and the other. And that's just me, right?
It's
If
not that
you
you,
don't
you
want
don't want to
that,
see it. It's more
right,
that you just don't want the hassle of babies, because most people feel
right,
bad when they get babies. They're like, oh no, I've got babies. I need to raise them. Like,
right,
hey, what do I do? What do babies
right.
eat? Like, how do we
Yeah.
look after them? And then they come to your channel, and it's like, it's like a crash course on how to raise babies. But you always tell them that,
Yeah.
it's so hard, and like,
Right.
it's a lot of work, like just constant feeding
Very
and
labor
cleaning and feeding and
intensive.
cleaning, and
So, in other words,
it's
listen to
beyond the most
Chris, not
obvious.
to Kelly, because Kelly just likes and wants babies, right? So, if you don't, it is a great tip. You're still going to have a great tank of seahorses, even if you get all one sex. I I love that point that even having the males in another tank where the water maybe, interacted was giving that. And I would say too that I bet that the males probably let off their hormones or whatnot all the time, just like human males. Whereas females have to pick and choose, and they might, keep it to themselves sometimes. I don't know. But I'm hoping that's the case in my tank, because I'm seeing all sorts of crazy dancing, and hopefully they like this secondary male. Still devastated that I lost a seahorse. Period. That's always an awful experience, and trying to figure out what happened, trying to observe and see, is there something wrong in the tank? But I share it so that anybody going through it can understand. Sometimes shit just happens, right? I mean, it just,
It
you
does.
don't even,
Happens to the best of us.
yeah, I mean, don't even know why. It's frustrating as heck, for sure. But big water change is the answer, and an observation in my personal experience. If you notice that they're all acting funny, different conversation completely. But uh, um, getting away from. Did you have something else to say, Chris? Sorry.
I was going to say,
Yeah.
it's probably not. It's probably not for a live stream, but I do have a video from back when I was working at Seahorse World. We had an aquarium that Rob come around, and we had some seahorses that we had lost, and we weren't particularly interested. Is like, it wasn't a concern why we'd lost them, because when you've got a farm of seahorses that you've got literally
Sure.
more than 10,000 seahorses, you get a natural sort of attrition. There was nothing going particularly wrong, but while we had the aquarium vet there, he was showing me how to dissect seahorses, how to do microscope biopsies, and how to look at various things. I could try and go back through either my phone or socials or wherever it might have ended up. I could try and find that video for you, and we could try and make a video specifically for that, for people that are interested.
No, I love that.
It's probably not something for a live stream, because it's
Right.
something that
Right.
some people might not like seeing a
Right.
dead seahorse kind of sliced and diced and
Right.
that. But scientifically, it's very interesting, kind of seeing where all their organs are, seeing
Yep.
seeing their liver, seeing their intestines, and seeing all that, and just seeing some of it under a
What goes
microscope is
wrong,
very
how it
interesting.
goes wrong, and yeah, no, absolutely. I'm down, and we'll put a huge disclaimer on the video, and that way,
Yeah,
not monetize it or whatever, and
yeah,
make sure it's no. I think that'd be great, because I'm personally, either way, I'm personally interested. I'd like to work with you on that and see it,
yeah.
because
It was Rob showing me how to do it. So if other people can learn from that, then I think that's a great
yeah,
thing. And Even if people want to get their own microscope, and not saying get microscope so you can cut your seahorses open and that, but I'm saying if you have one die,
Right.
then you've got a seahorse there and you can attempt it yourself and try and get some answers. Like, I think that's one of the most annoying things. If you have an animal pass away and you don't know why, it's always like this little niggling thing in the back of your head. It always bugs the crap out of you, and it'll bug you for forever, basically.
Yes.
But it's
To
one of those
figure it
things. Once
out
it's
would
already
be
passed
cool.
away,
Yeah.
if you can get to the bottom of it and get an answer as to why, then that's like invaluable information.
And yes, it's invaluable too, because then you know whether or not to worry about the rest of them, right? I mean, like, depending on what you find, absolutely. And I've got people commenting. Oh, I'm sorry. Um, yeah, dissecting it's pretty fascinating. And Bonnie said that sounds interesting to see how the organs are played. Right. So yeah, I don't want to dive too deep as this is a live stream. YouTube's probably gonna knock me all to hell. That's okay, Chris. All good. No, I'm just yeah, I'm teasing. But I think it's a good idea in general. So let me get with Chris on the side, and we'll get it put together and figure out how we can share it for sure. Good idea. And Ginger did say maybe she can do that on purpose and have double tanks, keep the males and females separate, but plumb them together just to watch them
Aw,
Just to
ooze
torture them. Just
teasing
hormones,
to,
be
them.
desperate for each
That's
other.
a big
That sounds
tease.
awful.
I
That's
mean, you can put a divider there. You can put it between so that they can't see and they can't be as teased. Or you could take it away and you
right?
can just be like, look what you can't have.
Oh, that sounds awful to me. We're gonna talk Zen into breeding, anyways. She's gonna be a breeder someday. So
Well, I
doesn't
have
matter.
a
But
male and 3 females in one tank, and still they're not breeding. But they go through all the motions. They play and flirt and do all that, but they're not doing the egg exchange.
well, in the all-in-one, that's literally what I have now is one male, three females. So that's my next step. I'm gonna give it like a month because they're acting all feisty and crazy.
Have
I'm gonna
you
give it a
seen them
month.
actually trying to court,
No,
or are they just flirting now?
well, they get to the point where they're doing the spin, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I've not seen an egg exchange. So, and I've never seen eggs. I've never seen eggs. I've had these seahorses for what, 3 years? Never
I
seen
get
eggs.
eggs out of my tiki tank frequently. I'm vacuuming eggs out of there,
Hmm.
but I've never seen them in the display tank. And I did have, the breeding pair in that tank, but I never
I don't
saw them
know.
build eggs. And I mean, now I have just Sadie and Dandy in there.
Well,
But I don't know, apparently she absorbs her eggs. I mean, I don't think Dandy can get pregnant. He's not able to court really,
sure.
but I'm imagining, does she get eggs or
Well,
does she
that was
not
that was
build
my
eggs?
question for Chris is if the females in the tank just aren't in the mood, don't like the males, whatever the reason, maybe they have a health thing, whatever. Can females just not ever get eggs? I mean, is that
Well, they can either stop producing eggs or they can produce eggs up to a certain point and then just kind of put it on pause and not really do anything with it. Um, yeah,
my
I had one
smile
point
was
where
my smile was my smile was reading Zen Ginger's question or comment. But no, I'm just saying like it's
Yeah,
in
what
the
happens?
wait, hang on. The first time that I kept seahorses, they instantly gave me fry. I did keep different species that never gave me fry. And then now I've got erectus, which are should be giving me fry, and they're not. And I never see like Holly sees eggs. That means there's a problem with the courting procedure, right? In my mind, something's going wrong probably with the male. Like she said, Dandy can't accept the eggs or whatever. But in my case, I have an all-in-one tank. There's no way that I would not see the eggs, and they just haven't produced any for 3 years. Isn't that like nuts to you?
Yeah, I mean, it's possible
Or
that you could have a seahorse that has some sort of a reproductive issue. You could have like you've got two female. It's possible, like
three,
the more seahorse you have, the less likely it is. But you could have some sort of
right?
a chemical cue that's stopping them from breeding. But you could have, like, if it was an individual seahorse, you could have uh, a seahorse that has like cysts on its ovaries and it's not able to lay eggs,
Sure,
or something
sure.
that might be some sort of a sort of hormone imbalance or something that's stopping her from producing eggs. It could be a nutrition issue. It could be, they're just not getting all the lipids and things that they need to actually produce eggs. Because
Right.
producing eggs
Could be
is a
feeding.
very labor intensive thing. Like, um, if you're feeding scientifically, if you're feeding seahorses set amounts, and the males are getting the exact same amount quantity of the same nutrition that the females are getting, the females expend a lot more energy to produce eggs than the males do to produce sperm. Sperm is very cheap in terms of biological economy, whereas um, the females produce eggs, and it takes so much energy for them to actually do that.
Right.
So, like, if you're struggling to get females to actually, kind of get breeding, even if it's not seahorses, even if it's just fish, something that breeders often do is they condition them. They try
Mm-hmm.
and pump as
Yep.
much food into them as they can to really get things sort of ticking along.
That's my next step. I'm going to let them do their play, since they're being so active for a month. Then I'm going to separate out and just leave the pair that I think will breed. Then I'm going to start gut loading them with enriched live foods because I totally agree with you. I just never had to do that before. Like they
Yeah,
always just came.
I mean,
But it's
it,
interesting because I tend to like Holly, I name my seahorses. I think of them as my kids, whatever. But I also like literally in my head, I equate, and I know they're just fish, you guys, but I think of them when I think of what's going on with them, I think of them in relation to humans. Like,
yeah,
Yeah,
don't want to get too
sexual
deep into this
relationship.
topic, but females can't decide to not produce eggs, right? Different situation, I get it. But it's just interesting to me that a seahorse female can decide not to produce eggs, that it's a conscious decision versus just a bodily function. I
yeah.
don't
I
know how
mean,
else to say
the
it. That's interesting.
the the seahorse biology and human are different. Like,
I know.
we're both on cycles, but they're very different cycles in how they work and how they sort of perform.
Gotcha.
Is
And
all I'll say on that.
that's
Just
just
won't go into
interesting.
too
Yeah.
scientific.
Yeah, I know. I'm like, I'm trying to back up myself because I dove in and now I'm like, eh. But no, I just think it's interesting that they can choose not to. So that's good to know that maybe there's nothing wrong. Just there's something wrong, but maybe it's something stupid that I don't, as a human, know, and they are just choosing not to produce eggs. So the male can flirt as much as he wants. She's not giving him the eggs. So interesting
Yeah,
to
I
me.
was I was almost going to
And
laugh earlier.
Zen
Like,
said,
it's probably a bit of a mean thing, but I was going to say, like, it's funny. Like, I could see you kind of getting a little bit jealous that Hollies were breeding so much, and you kind of I could see that you really want your seahorses to breed. But I was going to say,
yeah,
be careful. It's one of those feast or famine situations. Like,
I
once
know.
that light switch flicks on and they do start breeding, I'm going to get you here on the live streams complaining, like, I've got fry coming out of my ears. What am I going to do with them all? Like,
I
like
know
I've
that.
been in a facility setting, and we've been complaining that this tank's not producing enough fry or whatever. And then 6 months later, it's like a whole other situation. We can't keep up with, we don't have enough tank space for all the fry, and we just can't
Yep.
keep up with them. And it's a lot of work, and your workload can exponentially go from here all the way up to like here, like
Yeah,
overnight. So, like, just be careful what you wish for.
totally.
Absolutely fantastic point. And I agree 100%. And I'm sure I will be on here within the year saying, oh my gosh, I can't keep up. You guys can all call me on it. Feel free. I'm okay with that. But man,
Now
I miss.
I
I
have
remember.
a
Wait, hang on. Let
video.
me finish. Wait, hang on. I want to say one more
I'll
thing.
find it.
Okay, find it. Yes. I remember like when they have fried, they're so different, right? Depending on the pair, depending on the batch, depending on the species. And they're like such little individuals. Yes, I'm crazy. They're like my little kids, okay? But
They're your family.
I feel like I've gotten a lot better about the fact that I understand things. And I feel like if I got in that situation where I'm raising two batches of fry and they have another, that I understand what I can handle, right? And there's nothing wrong with that either for anyone out there. If you're trying to raise fry and you're doing a good job with this batch and this batch, taking on another might make you do less good with those two batches that are doing well. There's nothing wrong with saying I'm not going to keep this batch. There's places you can send them, or stuff happens, right? Oh my gosh, this is my work. I can't talk to him. I'll call him back in a minute.
It's okay. You
I'm
can take it, and
literally
I'll.
live.
I'll
I'll call you back in like 1 second. Bye. Okay.
it's okay.
Um,
You can talk if you need to.
Holly, can you show your video and talk to Chris for 1 second? I'm so sorry. I just got
Yeah,
called.
sure.
Okay,
So
sorry.
so I'll share this. This is kind of along the subject of the seahorse's behavior. So I shared earlier that I gave the seahorses that new little door to play with. And so two of my seahorses were flirting next to that door. It was Buddy and Princess. And so I walk back by maybe a half an hour later, and what I see is Buddy decided to flirt with another female. And Princess was upset about it. So you can see here she is on the door watching the other ones, and she's all, hey, look at me. What happened here? And she gets mad actually and takes off.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, she's like, fine, buddy. I'm gonna go sit by the dish. Maybe
Fine.
some
You,
will
you you do your thing. Enjoy the doghouse for the next month.
come. Right? But yeah, so this tank I've got there's three females and one male. And Buddy doesn't swim right. I don't know if he has something going on like Dandy has, but he doesn't really swim up, so he doesn't do the dance. You can see he tries to wrestle the females on the floor. So he's got three girlfriends, and none of them end up mating.
I don't know whether to say lucky boy or poor guy.
Yeah, right. Kind of a combination. And what's funny is you mentioned sometimes the females flirt with each other too.
Hmm.
They'll hang out together sometimes, two of them, or even I'll see the females, all three of them hanging out together doing their thing, and the male is somewhere else.
Yeah, I think with like seahorses and their breeding behavior, because it's such a, I guess, such a like a ritual, like all the dancing and all the courtship and everything. Like, I think people see, say two females or two males even. With the males, I think there's a lot more sort of competition there, but I think with the
Mhm.
females, like I think it's probably even a healthy sign to see two females kind of
Mhm.
courting and imitating a courtship dance, because maybe it's them just
Yeah,
practicing their
I think
their
they're just
courtship
hanging
for
out.
next time. Yeah, or
Mhm.
just staying fit, staying limber, staying in practice, so that when they do a courtship dance for real, they'll be good at it.
Now it's funny, in my other tank, in the display tank, I only have the two seahorses. I have Dandy and Sadie. and Sadie practices her courtship with the char chamber.
There you
she
go.
she dances with it, she wraps her tail around it, she does her dance, but yeah, she pays attention to the char chamber and dances in the corner with it.
Is the char chamber like near like the back of the tank or one of the side walls or?
It is. It's in the corner. Each tank has char chambers in the corners. What's interesting is Sadie is the only seahorse I have at this time that pays any attention to the char chamber. Like I have two of
Interesting.
them in the tiki tank where I just showed you the male, and there's three females in there. None of those seahorses really care about the char chambers. But in the
Is,
display tank, both the females, and now I'm down to two seahorses in that tank, but my other female seahorse also liked the char chamber.
Interesting. Like I think the fascination with the char chamber might be, she sees it as possibly like a part of her territory. Like, that's
Mhm,
the best hitching post. That's the best spot she can be. But
mhm,
part of me wonders if maybe because of its where it's positioned in the tank, like right in the corner, like
mhm.
maybe if it's here and it's right in the corner, maybe she's seeing her reflection, and she's
I
almost
think
seeing it as
she
like a
does,
dancing partner.
because another part of my tanks is I have them insulated on the outside, and I use that silver insulation you get, like here in the US we have Home Depot, so at
Yep.
the home stores it's actually insulation for your house, and it's silver, right? So I have that lining three sides of each tank. So I imagine in the corners, especially, they can see their reflection.
Oh man, I'm so depressed that I missed the reflection question because I love this question.
Oh, well,
And I
you didn't miss much. I was just talking about how Sadie practices courting with the char chamber.
mm-hmm.
And it's in that corner of the tank where the the insulation comes together back there. So she probably can see her
I
reflection.
noticed Dan has always said they see out. They don't see their reflections. You guys are crazy.
Mhm,
And I've always said, no, you're wrong. And I think you're right that it depends on what's around the tank,
mhm,
right? Because I noticed I have a TikTok I showed you guys in a previous stream where the seahorse is absolutely watching itself
mhm,
dance up and down the side, but it's on the side of the tank that's like almost
mhm,
literally against the wall. So there's a
mhm.
shadow, right? There's something there. Whereas when I walk up to the tank, they see me, obviously,
Yeah.
and they race up to me. So there's both are right, right? I don't think there's a right answer for that.
Yeah,
It
it
depends
depends
on
on your tank if they can see a reflection, like
yeah,
we were saying, because something is there that creates the mirror.
yes.
It
Agreed.
also sort of
Agreed.
depends on like illumination. Like if the tank's really well lit, then it makes seeing reflections a lot easier. But the other thing to factor in is also the surface of the glass or acrylic on the inside, where like how clean your tank is. If your tank is like really really clean, and you clean it regularly, religiously, or whatever, then they're going to have like a fantastic viewing surface for reflections, especially if it's a well lit tank. Whereas if you've let the algae sort of build up a bit, and you've got a bit of biofilm on there or whatever, or anything else sort of growing, not really going to have much of for the possibility of any reflections.
Yeah. Well, I just know my seahorses dance in the mirror. I don't care what anybody says. They better.
Well, the
But
funny thing about that is you can actually get mirror backed tanks. So you can actually get tanks either custom
yeah,
built so that they have a mirror as either the back or the side walls, or you can do a little bit of DIY and get a mirror the same size as the back pane of glass, and you can actually silicon it in so that you literally it creates that perception of depth. So your tank then looks twice as big as it is because you're seeing, say if your tank's 2 foot deep from front to back, then you're seeing 2 foot into your tank, then you're seeing the reflection, and then you're seeing the 2 foot of reflection back into the tank. So it makes the
Right.
tank look like it's 4 foot deep. And then, you know,
Right.
say you've got 5 seahorses there in that tank, it makes that tank appear like it has 10 seahorses because you're seeing the 5 seahorses in the tank, and then you're seeing their reflections even further in. So
I think that might mess me up. I think that might mess me up. And I will say too, just on a side note, um, obviously you wouldn't want a mirror on the bottom, but we discussed when I first set up this all-in-one, the stand that I got had no, like, it was one of those stands that was just around the corners, so the bottom they could see
They could see
through,
the floor.
and they did not like it at all. I literally had to cover the bottom of the tank because they did. I'm just telling you, I can't even remember exactly why I knew that, but they did not. They wouldn't. They didn't like it at all. So interesting, just how reflections work, and yeah.
yep.
Anyways,
If you've
fun
got if you're planning on having a bare bottom tank and you're not planning on like
stand.
if you want to have something on the bottom,
Yes.
you well normally if someone puts something on the bottom, they either put white polystyrene, or white foam or underlay, or they put something else. In the past, I've used yoga mats. Yoga mats are a fantastic cushioned surface. Also acts as a little bit of an insulating layer as well. But I would always recommend using something dark. So either something black or something very dark in coloration, because then if you're planning on having a bare bottom tank and you're not having any substrate to sort of, take that light, what you're going to do is you're going to have your light up above the tank and you're going to have all these light beams sort of reflecting down, and then
Right.
they're hitting the white, and then that's sort of reflecting back out everywhere, and that can really
Yeah. Mess them up.
exponentially hurt with algae growth and whatnot. So you can have a tank, you might have 2 tanks side by side, and if one's got a white bottom through the glass underneath supporting it, you can actually increase the amount of algae growth compared to a tank that say doesn't or has a different coloured thing underneath.
And I'm just saying it freaks the seahorses out. But absolutely, algae growth bad. Absolutely agree. Absolutely. So, yeah, I missed a little bit. Were you able to show your video, Holly, or did you need me?
Yeah. It's funny.
Okay.
You want to watch real quick?
Yeah, real quick.
All right. It's short.
And you guys, I have to work, so if you have any questions about seahorses, ask them now or come back next week. All right,
So
let's see.
so let me start it again. So what this was, remember the last video I showed, the 2 seahorses were sitting together at the little gate, and it was Buddy and Princess were flirting.
Mm-hmm.
Well, he left and started flirting with another female in the back of the tank. He
Mm-hmm.
started flirting with Sunny, and so here's Princess seeing that sitting on the gate. And you
Oh
can see
boy.
him flirting with the other female, and she gets all upset. See, she's trying to get his
Oh my
attention. Oh, wait
gosh.
a minute.
That is so funny.
And then finally, she just gets mad.
Oh, that's funny too. How
And
females and
goes
males
straight to the dish. She's like, maybe there's
fuck this.
food.
Oh, excuse me. Sorry. Sorry. Excuse me. Yeah. No, that's funny though, because like, oh shit, I did the wrong thing. But yeah, because I've got the males will snick each other. They'll wrestle. But the
Mhm.
females are like, oh, hell no. I'm going to go pout. Right? I mean,
Yeah.
so, and Chris is over there like, you guys need to stop putting these seahorses in human mindsets.
No,
I
no,
know.
like
I
that's
know.
actually normal behavior. I've witnessed the same sort of things.
Right. So, yeah,
Or
funny.
sometimes you'll get a female that gets really angry about it, and she might get the male in a headlock. She might wrap her tail around his neck and just start dragging him around the tank.
Yeah.
Like, no,
I
you're mine.
remember Cheryl had a
Yeah.
story about that too, for sure. Yeah, and it's funny too that that's what's so hard about helping people with seahorses is because mine are so different than yours. You know what I mean? Like there's a lot of similarities. There's the basics that you need to take care of to take care of them. But then their personalities are so different that,
Mhm.
I could say, oh no, the females are much more inactive. They just chill. The males are rambunctious and crazy. But then Chris will come back and say, "You're nuts." I mean, the females will take them out. Okay, it just
Well,
depends
that's
on
where
the
the live
seahorse.
streams are good because you get a whole bunch of different opinions and different
Yeah,
experiences from different people.
exactly. And I do appreciate you being here. But did we have anything else we had to discuss, guys? I'm sorry, I'm having a crisis at work. I apologize.
No.
No, that's okay.
But all right. So for tonight, and Bonnie did say that she keeps a floating mirror in her beta tank so they can flare for exercise every few minutes. I know absolutely nothing about betas, so I can't say good job or no, no. I have no idea.
Mhm.
But it's working for you. Awesome. Right? I don't know.
Yeah, they love mirrors.
Mhm.
Okay, there you go. And so, but would you? I don't know if you guys said this while I was gone. Would you suggest putting a mirror in a seahorse tank? I don't know about that. If they were alone, like they lost their
Mhm.
mate, abso-freaking-lutely. But I don't know if would it be confusing to them if they were just in a
That's
clan?
what I wonder because I mean, they can't really interact with the other seahorse if it's a mirror. I don't. Yeah, I
I,
don't.
I wish Ray was still here because I remember him getting the fake
Mhm.
seahorses for the tank. And I think
Mhm.
he said that his seahorse wanted nothing to do with them, but maybe another seahorse would. I don't necessarily think it would be a bad thing for seahorses.
Mhm.
I just don't think I'd do it unless they were alone. Right?
Mhm.
If that makes sense. Anyways, all right. Everybody's saying goodnight. Oh, Chris left us. He
Oh,
probably got disconnected. But
yeah.
when he does come back, we'll tell him goodbye. And we thank him so much for joining us because it's so amazing when Chris joins because he has so much experience, right? He can tell us about stuff we can't even dream of because he worked with seahorses on a true level.
Mhm.
But we're always here for you on Wine Wednesday. Next week, I'll use my carafes the right way and pour it into a glass. I'll still use them, but I'll pour it into a
They
glass.
are glass size, but yeah, I think they're for samples. So, like, if you give
They are.
a little sample of wine, but yeah, they're
They
more
are.
glass size.
I think my brother was thinking that sometimes we do Wine Wednesday live, like
Mhm.
literally live, like people in the room.
Yeah.
And I'd love to do that someday. I'd
Mhm.
love to have like a Wine Wednesday party where we could all get together somewhere
Yeah.
for real in person.
Yeah.
And then I'll bring these and I'll pour you all samples and we'll decide what wine to drink for Wine Wednesday. But
Well,
for tonight,
someday when you come out and visit, Kelly.
there you go. And for tonight, you guys feel free to make fun of me. I don't care. I didn't know. So it's fine. But I still think it's cute and pretty, and he was trying to help me out. So great. But that being said, I'm going to go deal with my work crap. Not as fun as hanging out with you guys, but I do have to do it. And can't wait, Zen Ginger, for you to start setting up. We're going to pull you in here. We want you in here live to tell us and show us what you're doing because this is the perfect opportunity to really share with the community setting up a seahorse tank. So we're putting you on the spot, but we're excited for it to happen. And with that, I'm going to say goodnight, Holly, if you don't have anything else.
No, I'm
All
good.
right. Come back next week. It is a new year. We're going to do some new things. We're going to try to get some new guests. Either way, though, I together with you guys and talking with you every week. So that's what we're here for. So with that, I'll use my carafe and say Happy Wine Wednesday. See you next week.
Cheers.
Cheers.